All right, today we are diving into a book that really shook up the whole self-help world. It's Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And trust me, it's packed with some seriously counterintuitive ideas.
So, let's start with this question, because it gets right to the heart of the book. Have you ever felt this? You're chasing happiness, doing all the things you're supposed to do to be happy, but it just leaves you feeling, well, more stressed and kind of empty. Why is that?
Well, this weird paradox is what the book calls the modern happiness trap. It's this idea that our culture's nonstop obsession with being positive is actually somehow making us all feel worse. Manson has this brilliant name for it, the feedback loop from hell. You know exactly what this is. You feel anxious about something, and then on top of that, you start feeling anxious about the fact that you're anxious. Or you feel sad, and then you start beating yourself up for feeling sad. It's this crazy spiral that just makes the original feeling 10 times worse.
And here is the logic behind it, straight from the book. The very act of wanting to feel better just reinforces the fact that you don't feel good right now, and that feels bad. But, and this is the crazy part, just accepting that you feel bad, saying, you know what, it's okay that I feel this way. That acceptance is actually a positive experience. It's a total flip of the script.
So, what is the problem today? It's not that we don't have enough stuff. For most of us, it's that we're completely overwhelmed. We're plugged into social media, constantly seeing a million curated lives that make us feel like we're not doing enough. And so much of the traditional self-help advice just makes it worse by feeding right into that feedback loop from hell.
Okay, so what's the way out? That's where the subtle art comes in. And it's so important to get this right. This is not about being indifferent and not caring about anything. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Think about the writer Charles Bukowski. For a huge chunk of his life, he was a total mess by any normal standard. But here's the thing. His success didn't come when he tried to become some polished, perfect person. It came when he just accepted himself, warts and all. His tombstone actually says don't try. Not because he gave up, but because he stopped trying to be someone he wasn't.
So this whole philosophy really comes down to 3 key ideas, or subtleties. First, not giving a fuck isn't about apathy. It's about being okay with being different. Second, if you want to stop sweating the small stuff, you need to find something much, much bigger and more important to care about. And third, you're always choosing where to direct your attention. The real skill is learning how to cut out the things that just don't matter.
Now this brings us to another wild idea in the book, and it's a big one. Problems are actually a good thing. Yeah, you heard me right. They might just be the secret ingredient to a happy life.
The book's argument is that life is never without problems. They're constant. You don't solve a problem and then you're done. You just trade it in for a new, hopefully better one. So wishing for a life with 0 problems is a total dead end. The real goal should be to find good problems, problems you actually enjoy tackling.
Look at the difference here. An unfulfilling life is all about running away from problems and just chasing the next easy high. But a meaningful life, that's about finding challenges you want to take on. It's about embracing the struggle, because that's where you find your purpose. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start feeling empowered by your choices. So here's the big reveal. Happiness isn't some prize you get at the finish line. It's not a destination. Happiness is the process. It's found in the active, ongoing engagement of solving problems. It's the climb itself.
Okay, that makes sense. But if happiness is all about solving the right problems, how in the world do you find them? Well, the book argues it all comes down to your values, because at the end of the day, your values determine your problems.
And this leads us to what is, I think, the most powerful question in the entire book. Don't ask yourself, what do I want to enjoy? That's easy. Ask yourself this, what pain am I willing to sustain? Seriously, because your answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know about where your life is headed.
And why is that so important? Because good values are things you can actually control. They're internal, they're process-based, like being honest or creative. But bad values, they're all external, things you can't control, like wanting everyone to like you or needing to be right all the time. If you choose those values, you are signing yourself up for a lifetime of unsolvable problems.
So, if we pull all of this together, it means we have to adopt a few final, really powerful mindsets. And it starts with accepting some truths that, let's be honest, can feel a little uncomfortable at first.
First up, we need to escape what the book calls the tyranny of exceptionalism,
We're just bombarded with images of the best, the top 0.1%, and it makes being average feel like a failure. But the truth is, most of us are average at most things we do. And you know what? That is totally okay. Realizing that isn't depressing, it's liberating. It frees you from impossible expectations and lets you focus on what actually matters: small, real improvements.
And here's another huge one: understanding the difference between fault and responsibility. Bad things can happen to you that are 100% not your fault, but you are always responsible for how you choose to respond to them. Blaming other people is easy, but it gets you nowhere. Taking responsibility, even for a mess you didn't create, is the only way to have any real power over your life.
And really, it all comes back to this amazing idea, captured perfectly by this quote from Freud. The point of life isn't to avoid struggle. It's to find a struggle that gives your life meaning. Because one day, you'll look back, and those are the years that will shine the brightest.
And so, finally, the book leaves us with this one simple, unavoidable truth. Thinking about our own death isn't morbid, it's clarifying. It has a way of cutting through all the noise, all the trivial stuff, and forcing us to ask the only question that truly matters. Knowing your time is limited, and knowing you only have a limited number of fucks to give, what will you choose to care about?